Alright, welcome guys to another Blender live stream. I'm your host Ozpin. And today I'm here to announce that wait, hold on, what am I gonna announce again? Yeah, I'm gonna announce that we're gonna be I guess taking a break, from doing these animation streams for a while, because for the next coming streams we will be focusing on learning how to do some game dev stuff on Godot. That's not to say though that I'm already finished with this wrestling animation. It's just that I am now putting a little bit of my focus now on doing some game dev stuff, but I'm still working on doing these animations offline. It's just that now I think for the next coming streams I will be more focusing on the Godot's aspect of things rather than on the Blender grease pencil side of things. But who knows, maybe I'll be able to do a bunch of these streams later down in the future. But anyway, before we start on animating our wrestler character, I just want to give you guys a highlight of what I've been working on behind the scenes in terms of my game. I want to show you guys, I created this sort of extra scene from this one Blender project, wherein I already created like the background elements of my game. Basically, I just created a sort of sci-fi foresty looking city, wherein you can sort of see that it has like there are a bunch of these buildings are shaped like, I don't know, like tree like barks of trees. And then of course there are also a lot of these bushes along the side here, as well as some more foresty stuff at the background over there. And of course we also have a tree canopy here to sort of simulate the look of a forest. And I also made a little bit of a road of a ground level here with a bunch of stoplights, and I'm also thinking of maybe adding a little bit more signage here to really sell the fact that this is supposed to be a road in a forest-like city. Because, you know, remember that my characters are basically robotic animals in a way. So I thought that, you know what, why don't we try to combine a rainforest setting with a city, a sci-fi city, cyberpunk-like city together to create this like one unique environment here. And it's basically how the game would, where the game would take place. It's again, I'm calling this a space shooter type of game. It's not 3D, technically. It's more so like a 2D game, wherein you get to see this character here. Or not this character, but this character, Helibird. This character Helibird fly through this this environment, and the goal of as the player is to shoot a bunch of these enemy characters as they, you know, go and, you know, try to take you down. There'll be like a lot of these grounded enemies like the turtle car that can like shoot you from below. A duck cycle robot that can snipe you down with a gun, as well as you know, some standard enemies like a rocket bee that just flies straight into you, like a bullet bill from Super Mario Advance 4. I know it's basically Super Mario Brothers 3. But in the Game Boy Advance, but I'm calling it Super Mario Advance 4. But yeah, it's a very simple game, and I hope you guys would like it once we start programming it onto Godot. And I hope you guys play it once I either publish it on Newgrounds or itch.io. I still don't know if I want this game to be a web-based game, considering that when I first tried importing the game, my first ever game, the Gas Frenzy game, onto Newgrounds, I had trouble I had trouble like getting everything to work because I don't know, like for some reason I think for some reason like this problem in the way the web engine tries to loop stuff around. Like for example, I tried to get this looping audio clip to function in my game, and it just wouldn't work. And then there were also some background elements that weren't like animating as I wanted to. So I wanna maybe try to do a actual .exe game that you can download somewhere to play this game. I don't know, because I just don't really trust, I don't know, like web type of games to function well. But who knows, maybe I'll try to see some workarounds. Maybe I'll be able to publish it onto Newgrounds in a way. So with that being said, let's just jump into what we're supposed to be doing on the stream. Again, these are the background elements, or the background assets for my game. Helibird something. Helibird 2, I guess. Helibird Asteroids Edition. And yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go to this project here, and let's go ahead and start making some animation frames, shall we? Okay, so I think the goal for the stream is to maybe focus on finishing the coloring process here before I animate this guy doing a backflip onto this guy. So let's do that, shall we? Okay. Alright, hold on, let me just drink some water. Oh my god. You know, I always question myself whether I'll be able to finish this project in general, because this is like, I think, the longest project I've done so far in Blender. It used to be it used to be my Candlewick film that took the longest amount of time to finish, but now it's this freaking animation. And I didn't even mean I didn't mean for this to be a very long thing to finish, because I thought that this could be done under like 3 months or something, considering that my last animated film was also an animation that took 3 months to make. But I didn't take into account the fact that this is a animation with more movement to it. So I think I screwed myself over with that. Alright, let me just paint all of these stuff. Of course, I am not yet done in making animations, any future animations in the future. If you guys have been tracking down my tweets for the past year, I think I did like one tweet wherein I told you guys that I already have like a script for a future animation project in the works. That was supposed to be the thing that actually would take a lot more time compared to this. But now that I dug myself into this hole, I cannot get out. And I must finish this freaking animation. Of course, that's not to say I'm not having fun with this. I still have a lot of fun animating these two hunka-dunka dudes nailing each other in the head. Because I don't know, I'm just, I guess, a big fan of two people fighting, I guess. I'm still a big fan of wrestling. Have you guys seen the recent events that's happening in WWE recently? John Cena turned heel, and now he's fighting CM Punk. And then that pipe bomb that Cena did, which is like a callback to CM Punk's freaking pipe bomb back in 2011 or 2013-ish. It's so good. You guys should probably watch wrestling if you haven't yet. Because things are really ramping up to the road towards Night of Champions. I mean, I think I know that CM Punk's not winning this title because there's that seems too anticlimactic for CM Punk to win the World Championship on the upcoming pay-per-view in WWE. But you know, I wanna the story behind it is still very interesting. I want to see how he would lose, rather than whether or not he would win actually. And I'm also wondering whether this whole John Cena heel arc would extend up until Survivor Series, because I feel like it's very poetic for John Cena to have to defend his to lose his title in Survivor Series. Like, it's like, you know, the pay-per-view name speaks for itself. Survivor Series is like, you want the championship, the WWE championship, to last as long as possible, and it'll be poetic if at some point John Cena loses his title to some guy in Survivor Series to make the point that, hey, the WWE Championship is here to last as long as possible, to survive, and will survive the the end of John Cena's reign, you know. Now the only question is, who would take down John Cena? I mean, I guess the safe bet would be to get Cody Rhodes to do it, but I also am in the side with people when they say they want LA Knight to win. Considering that he's like the closest thing we get to a Rock kind of guy, and plus he's very funny. And it would be, you know, kind of also a good storyline if... Because I think one of John Cena's greatest rivals back in the day was The Rock, right? Back in WrestleMania 28 and 29. So having that kind of character defeat, like, John Cena could be also a good storyline to work with. But another person I wanna try and put my money on is maybe Ron Killings, because for the longest time, you know, John Cena, and even like the entirety of RKO, of TKO, treated like R-Truth as like a joke for the longest time. And you know, it would be a pretty good story to have it be that, you know, the comedy wrestler would turn into like this very serious wrestler and stop John Cena from ruining wrestling. As I think what happened with Ron is that, or with R-Truth, is that John Cena used him as like a ploy to ruin wrestling back in Saturday Night's Main Event. The one before Money in the Bank. But then things happened wherein John Cena punted him to a point that he got his senses back together, and now Ron Killings is now this very serious wrestler that's actually not the kind of guy you would say would ruin wrestling. It's more so the guy that would actually save wrestling now, and it would be, you know, pretty, I wouldn't say poetic, but it would really be poetic if Ron Killings, the man John Cena fought, would ruin wrestling even further, would turn Ron Killings would be the one to like defeat John Cena in some title bouts at some point in the future. Wouldn't that be amazing, you know? Okay, let me just paint up this part here. Wait, hold on, is this okay. I gotta make sure my color layer is in line with the strokes here. Aside from men's wrestling, I've also been watching a lot of women's wrestling, but on the other brand, AEW, because I haven't watched the AEW in a while because I just thought that the storylines there are a little bit too disjointed compared to WWE. But I took a peek of the latest Collision clips that they uploaded on their YouTube channel, and I'm starting to realize that Toni Storm might be a pretty good. I'd be in the middle of one of the greatest feuds of all time between her and Mercedes Moné. Because I think what's happening right now in the other company is that Mercedes has collected a lot of these belts from other wrestling promotions. Like, I think he got like he got like the TNA Women's Championship, as well as some championships she got from Mexico, and I think she even got like a Women's Championship from Japan. So she's like, this run started reminding me of that belt collector run when back when Kenny Omega was was having a belt collector run of his own. And now Toni Storm, I think, is like the last. I mean, Toni Storm's championship is now the last thing that Mercedes has yet to claim. So, all I'm saying is that that's a pretty good storyline. Like, it's basically Toni Storm against one of the like the Thanos of the women. Oh. Ah, shit. Hello? Oh god, thank god. Okay. Alright, I may have some problems here. I mean, my blender was working, but my system isn't working. I can't like select all of the stuff here on my taskbar.
Hey, John.
Okay, wait. Okay, my Windows is not working. Okay, good. Okay, guys, wait, hold on. I need to get rid of some tabs here before we continue. I might have to get rid of my VTuber model for this, just to make sure my computer is running well. Hold on. Oop. Okay. Oops. Let me just get rid of that. Okay. Get rid of my face tracker and my puppet string. Okay. I'm putting myself here. Okay. There we go. Alright. Sorry guys, I have to lower down the quality of my stream here just to make sure my computer isn't gonna crash on me. Anyway, if you want me to get a better computer, you can donate to my Ko-Fi page down in the link below. Anyway, what was it saying? Oh yeah, women's wrestling. Women's wrestling right now in AEW, it looks pretty legit. If you don't believe me, just go watch Tony Storm's recent mic work on AEW Collision. That will give you like a brief rundown of what the storyline is right now in the AEW Women's Championship. Oof. All right. Okay. Let's deviate from the topic of wrestling and maybe talk about some stuff I've been working on behind the scenes. I've recently created the time lapse for the amount of game masses I've been doing this past week. I recently finished it, and I'll be uploading it on Thursday if you're living in my side of the world, and on Wednesday if you live in the US. So look forward to that. And I realized that while I was making a time lapse that I basically created like 6 different Blender time lapses rolled, or 7 Blender time lapses rolled into one, because I've basically created 7 characters during the duration of those streams. And I'm wondering whether I should make one video for my main channel that is dedicated to giving guys the entirety of the Blender time lapse, from the first VOD to the third VOD. Then on the second channel, I'll probably do like a clip version of the time lapses, wherein I split the time lapses into 7 different sections for each different character I created during the duration of my streams. It seems like a good idea. It'll also give me some things to work on for my second channel. Because I did say that I'll be making my second channel to a clips channel, but I never really took the time to actually make some clips for that channel. But we'll see. I really don't like making clips. It just feels like a waste of time for me to make clips of myself, rather than to work on projects that I would really want to put my time on. Oh shit, it's raining really hard outside. Okay. If I ever want to like focus my time on stuff, I'd rather like you know learn about stuff like Blender and Godot on my free time rather than to spend my time editing some clips. Speaking of Blender and Godot, I recently found someone making a game on Excel on YouTube. She made like a freaking first-person maze-like game on Excel, and I'm pretty surprised how she was able to recreate that in a program like Microsoft Excel. Like I couldn't even get around learning how to make some simple calculations in Excel, but this one developer that I found on YouTube created like a first-person game in freaking Excel of all places. It just kind of goes to show that there's really no right way to create a game. Like when I first got into learning game development, I always asked myself, okay, so if Blender is used to make 3D models, Krita is used for making 2D drawings, and LMS is used for making music, what's the app that I need to know to get to learn how to do game development? And at first I thought it would be like, oh, it's the easy answer would probably be game engines, but for some people they would answer by saying, oh, just get a framework, or basically a framework is just, from my understanding, it's just a bunch of code put into a folder that you import into a code editor like Visual Studio Code, and you sort of like create a game with that from the ground up. It's I don't know how it works, but it's basically like trying to create a lasagna, but what you're given, instead of the raw ingredients, what you're given is is the metal and the parts you need to make a stove first. And basically how the framework in that is that you are taking these parts of a stove and building up together to make your own stove, so that you can fit the stove specifications to a point that you make the right kind of lasagna or game. It's like I guess it's not a good allegory for what frameworks are. I guess a better explanation of what frameworks are is like trying to farm for your own ingredients compared to just going to a supermarket. Now you can go to a supermarket to get the ingredients for a dish, but you can get your ingredients in a much more fresh state by working on those ingredients yourself and having it so that you always get the best produce instead of the conveyor belt type of ingredients that you get at the supermarket. You know, that's what I would say what a framework is. Of course, there are also other ways to make a game. Like this one game dev, he created one in Excel, and it really made me wonder what even is a game in its most basic form. And I came to realize that games are basically just bundles of code that you stitch together to create basically an application. So when you think of it that way, game engines or game frameworks are not really, I don't really think of them more as tools to help you make stuff, but more so tools that help you wrap your head around all the assembly code you might have to go through if you don't have a game engine or a game framework in mind. But games, by extent, can be made using anything, technically. You can make one in PowerPoint, you can make one in Excel. As long as there's interaction with the player, you already have like a game to begin with. You might not have the best games to create when you open up, a PowerPoint presentation, but it's still technically a game. That really reframed the way I also looked at apps in a way. Because people would say, "Oh, you should use this API to make this 3D rendering engine," or you should use this integrated what do you call it, IDE. You should use this IDE to make this certain app. But then I came to realize that there's really no right way either to make apps, which means that which means now I came to realize that Blender can also even be a good way for me to learn how to make my own like custom CAD software in the future if I wanted to. Because they do have like this thing called a scripting Blender has this whole freaking scripting tab here that lets you create like add-ons onto Blender. But it can also like change Blender to a point that it doesn't really resemble Blender anymore. So in a way, this could be also a good way for me to learn how to make apps for myself. So yeah, there's no right way to make apps or applications or programs. You just need to be comfortable with the fact that you are going to be working with tools that are not meant to make apps in the first place. Like I guess with Blender, I don't really see a lot of people talk about the scripting features of Blender. I've only seen people like talk about its 3D modeling features or its animation features or its VFX features, but never its scripting features. Oh my god. Alright, let me just paint up this back here. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I want to see if this Alright, I might need to edit this one layer here. Yeah, this ain't gonna pass with me. Okay. Let's go here, let's go to draw mode, let's freaking paint the shit out of this. Wrong material. You might be, like, guys might be asking, yo, Morgan, where did you get all these information to learn how to, where did you get all this information about app or game development or game engine development? Well, I've been watching this guy. His name is Cherno. And I discovered this guy when I was like watching a game from scratch video, and Game from Scratch was talking about this one engine that's now being sold for free called the Hazel engine. And like, yo, free stuff, that's cool. It's the guy who made it, and Game from Scratch linked me to this one creator on YouTube called Cherno, the Cherno. Cherno or the Cherno? I'm perfect at forgetting the guy's name, but I was surprised that this one guy created this game engine, and I'm like, yo, what the frick? I want to see what this guy's videos are like. And what I discovered surprised me, because this guy is dedicated to talking not about game development, but game engine development. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I looked into some of his videos, and he gave me like a brief explanation how game engines work, what OpenGL is, which is I think like a graphics API that lets you communicate with your GPU to create apps like Blender in a way, because Blender has like a freaking viewport that's very complicated. And he even does like a tutorial series on how to use C++ in making game engines, and I'm like, yo, that's pretty cool. I didn't know there's like because up to now I didn't know that there were any creators on YouTube that talks about game engine development, because I think that's like too niche of a topic to talk about here on this platform. But here's Cherno just talking about game engines for roughly 5 years now, or 6 years. And he even like created a game engine for himself called the Hazel engine. I think he pretty much documented his entire process on YouTube through his game engine series, and it's pretty interesting to watch, not gonna lie. I'm gonna say I understood everything that he said, but it's like so fascinating, I guess, to see this side of game development come to life. Okay, I just noticed that this one stroke here isn't really in the same layer that I want it to be. It's not appearing here on this side of the screen. Okay, so let me just estimate this. I guess it's over here, I guess? Let's see. I guess close enough. I'll go for perfection here. Alright, let's go paint the shit out of this. You know, Cherno almost made me want to learn C++ because I heard of how robust and reliable it is to use C++. But then I looked into a tutorial of it by Bro Code, and I noticed that in order to just print something as simple as hello world, you gotta like type up a bunch of shit on your code editor to get it to work, and I'm like, nah man, this ain't I mean, I guess it would be for me, but I feel like the scope from jumping from learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python to that is a bit too much of a leap for me. Maybe I'll get into C++ programming when I'm comfortable with coding in Python and JavaScript. By the way, I just realized, you guys don't know, GDScript in a way is kind of like Python. I came to realize. So by learning GDScript, I am basically just refreshing my idea of how freaking Python works in a way. Granted, it's not one-to-one like Python, but it's really close, like really surprisingly close to what Python is like. Consider that I once took a course of it by programming with Mosh. You know, if you spoke to me like a few years ago and you told me that I'll be into freaking game development by the time 2025 rolls around, I would just scoff and not believe you at all. Because I was not really in the interest of making games back in the day. But as time went on, I came to realize that, you know, interests change. Began to look for new ways to, you know, spend my time, and you came to realize that you probably have other interests other than the ones that you have in the present moments. And with that mindset in mind, you kind of try to now experiment with yourself and try out different things that you think may not be your cup of tea, but in the end might be. Because it just always keeps saying yes to anything that comes my way. Maybe like dentistry, or running like 10 kilometers in a race. I would just say yes, yes, yes. Want me to run the student elections? Yes, I will do that. So why I suggest to people, just go try different things if you have the time and resources to do so. Because that's how I get to learn all of these different things that probably have no relation to with each other. Oh my god. By the way, can you guys hear the raindrops falling from outside? It's really raining hard. Oh my god. Yeah, it's really raining hard. You know, I'm supposed to be doing some groceries for my family right now. Or I mean, later. I should be doing my groceries later. Later after the stream. Let's see the rain going outside. It's like, damn, I'm gonna go outside at some point. this entire rainfall, this entire weather's gonna greet me. I'll just step out the house. I noticed that at some point during the animation process, I accidentally deleted the color layer of this two characters, and now they're just this. Oh, I don't want that. I think I saw the palette here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, I messed up the color in here. Alright, there we go. Let's see all of this in action. That. Oh my god. This is the kind of thing that really motivates me. Like, whenever I think that I'm spending too much time on doing this one animation, I just go and see the sky in movement, and it's like, yo, this is so awesome. I guys may be wondering, what the frick motivates me to do all of these hard tasks? And to answer that, I could say that I'm doing it because I love what I'm doing, and that's also true. But a part of me also thinks that the reason why I'm doing all these things is to make sure that my attention span is still intact. Because I kind of see all of these videos wherein there's these TikTok kids on the internet not learning how to focus because their brain is so fried into watching so much short form content here on TikTok and YouTube. And I look at them and I'm like, oh my god, that could be me if I'm not careful. So it's a way for me to, you know, to make sure that my attention span can still last as long as I could. I try to do all these like menial tasks like animating. My brain comfortable with staying in the silence for a very long time. Because there was this like one little entertaining video I found on YouTube wherein it's basically Markiplier on one side of the video and a V-Roid anime girl model in VR chat or something. And you know what Markiplier was like trying to explain what the SCP is. And you know, whenever he gets into a lot of detail into what SCPs are, he would like start dangling a bunch of keys to make sure that this one anime girl is freaking focusing on what he's saying, while also talking about the back rooms during his explanation of what SCPs are. It's so funny, but also kind of real at the same time, because there are some kids I've met that do kind of function in a way that if you don't jangle a bunch of keys in front of them, they're not gonna focus at all in whatever you're trying to say to them. And heck, I've even caught myself being that one kid that couldn't focus on an explanation whenever there isn't any TikTok video lying around. Because I remember like my mom tried explaining to me what I should do throughout the day, and I was like, yes, okay, sure, why not? It's a very short 5-second explanation, but then once she stopped talking and left the room, and my mind just was completely blank because I just wasn't present when she started explaining to me what I should do during the day. And I'm like, oh my god, I am losing myself. I need to train my brain to focus more. And that's what I've been doing lately. I've been exposing myself to these masochistic projects because I wanna make sure that I'm still myself. I need something that that I need to feel like I'm in the present moment, you know. I need my brain to work, or else I'm at some point I'll walk into a cliff and I wouldn't really know what happened. That's my mindset whenever I do these kinds of streams. I need to focus. I need to like train my mind to be at the present moment, or else I'm gonna just walk off a cliff if I'm not when I'm not noticing. I've also been doing a bunch of other stuff to make sure I keep my focus. I've been eating a lot more food, not food, but more so like healthy food. Because focusing is also, you know, your brain is also a muscle, so you want to try and feed it as much good vitamins and minerals as much as you can, and nutrients. We've also been going outside, doing biking and long, not really long distance running, but running a bunch of 5Ks and 10Ks. I've also been doing a lot of meditation. Meditation surprisingly really works whenever you feel like you're not focusing a lot on one task. Like, I'll just give you guys a brief explanation of how meditation works by giving you guys a meditation session right now. Alright, guys, follow with me now. Let's take a deep breath. Breathe in. And breathe out. Now while you do this, I want you to just focus on breathing and not on anything else, alright? Breathe in. And breathe out. 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 I feel like the BGM is losing your ability to focus on my meditation right now, but basically I do that for about 5 minutes each day in a silent room, and it surprisingly works really well. If you feel like you're losing yourself, you just do some breathing exercises in a blank room, and you just focus on your breathing. Don't focus on anything else, just focus on your breathing, and it just works. It surprisingly just works. I don't really know what's the science behind it. It just kind of works for me for some reason. Oh. Okay. Whoo. All right. Of course, there are some, some situations wherein meditation may not be the best method of getting your focus back together. I mean, I've been in stressful situations wherein it's really hard for me to focus, especially if you're you're in college right now and you try to work out your requirements. Your focus is just all over the place technically. I should do this and do that and do this and do that, and all of a sudden you're not really focusing on a lot of things, and you sort of just like train your mind to just multitask in a way. That's why it's like best to understand that if you want to try and focus, you need to have like a good control over your time and your schedule, because in a busy environment like a workplace or a school or a college, I find it really almost impossible to focus in a way, because you're trained to do so many things all at once. And and the only like sense of relief you get is when you finally go back home and you put down all of your suitcases and your assignments, and you're like, you finally have a sense of relief in a way. Oh, wrong color. But in a sense, not having a good focus, a good focusing skills may also come to your benefit, because I remember like watching this this podcast by Markiplier. It's called Distractable. I sometimes watch it on Spotify, and he explained to me that he took this medication to make sure that his focus is trained to focus on very specific tasks. And I forgot what the medication it takes to make sure that his ADHD is kept in line, but he notices that once he took this medicine, he didn't really have the, I guess, the drive to do multiple stuff all at once during the day, or do a lot of things during the day, because you can only focus on one specific task before moving on to another one. And it's like, oh, that's okay. So I guess having less focus could be also a benefit to people, because it just means that you can do more stuff at once. Maybe not the best, maybe not have the best performance of doing all these stuff at once, but you will be able to do a lot of stuff at once. So in a way, like, not having as much focus could also be a benefit to people. Alright, let me just paint this one back here. Another thing I did to lessen my, or I guess lengthen my focus is to just not watch TikTok. I mean, I haven't really used TikTok at all. I mean, I do sometimes use it occasionally, just to, you know, to see what my little siblings are up to. But overall, I just don't use TikTok. Because back then I just thought that, you know, I'm already satisfied with YouTube. Why would I want to download another app on my phone? But now that I am in the phase of my life when I'm aware that my attention span could lessen at any day, I just avoid the freaking app entirely. Even though I know I do have like a freaking vanilla log to a TikTok account there, I just don't really contribute to the TikTok platform in any way anymore. Which is why I don't really post that much in TikTok anymore. By the way, if I go to my description of this live stream, do I still have TikTok as some of my social media links? No. Okay, good. You guys, frick that shite. I don't wanna. I mean, it's good. It's good that people are that there's competition between YouTube and TikTok in terms of what's the best video platform to stream on. But my God, I will. If I ever have like a son or a daughter, I am gonna make sure they avoid TikTok or any short form content as much as possible, because those really do like lessen your attention span to a high level of degree. Alright, let me just do a stroke here. Ooh, okay, I'm starting to realize I'm losing myself here as well. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. You know, now that I'm doing all these things, it feels kind of dystopian to think that you're at a point of human history wherein attention is now considered a reliable skill to have in the workplace. Like, it's not like something that should come off naturally to people, but now it's become like an epidemic to not have the ability to focus on a lecture for more than 5 minutes. It really makes me like scared for what the future generation holds. I don't like to follow the trend of older generations ranting on newer generations for what they're doing, but I am actually pretty concerned with how newer generations would learn new things in the future. Because I am looking at some of these YouTube documentaries where they talk about how teachers are complaining about students not focusing on the class and working at a grade 4 level when they're actually in grade 7. And I'm like, damn, these guys are not gonna do well once they hit the job market. I think I told you guys before that if I think I did a rant before in like a previous stream where I told you guys that if I think this could be solved by just giving by improving on our education system, by giving students like much more reliable mediums for learning stuff, like not textbooks but rather videos or music or audio clips. But I realized that that's not enough anymore. There also needs to be some kind of regulation in terms of what they should consume online, because what they consume online can also result in their attention span decreasing. And you can't just say that you could improve teaching by moving your teaching lessons into a short form kind of content, because you're not, even though you're training your kids to say to learn these lessons in a environment that they are much comfortable with, which is short form content, you are still like you're still like how to say this? God, I'm losing myself right now. in a freaking live stream when I talk about attention span, I myself am also getting lost in what I'm saying. But even if we come at a point where we figure out how to incorporate our lessons into short form videos or content, you're not really training your kids to be comfortable with learning how to focus in a way. Let me just do this clip here. There we go. Because as we get more comfortable with short form content, we just train kids to I just realized that these icons here are much smaller than I expected it to be. Are they always this small? Hold on. Let me see. You know, I'll work on editing my preferences another time. But yeah, as we sort of get more comfortable with our kids, with kids, consuming short form content, they just lessen their attention span more and more, up to a point that, you know, maybe they'll only focus for 5 seconds before they lose themselves on a certain lesson. And you can't explain anything in under like 5 seconds. There needs to be like some time given if you're gonna explain something in under that. If you're explaining a lesson that's, you know, as complicated as something like maybe, you know, as math or something. Again, guys, I am speaking about oh, what the frick? Oh, this is where the flip comes. Okay. All right. Let's get out of these freaking conversation we're having about attention span. We need to work on this one character here. But he's about to do a backflip. Oh my god. Let's see. Let's get the wrestler up in here. Right. Wrestler outline. You know, speaking of attention span, it really makes you wonder, does YouTube Kids allow children to watch short form content? Because if they do, I feel like it should be illegal for them to do that, because I mean, I don't really know what's the science behind it, but I think we should probably not let kids be comfortable with consuming short form content at all, or else they'll pretty much fry their brains into being comfortable with consuming stuff in under 5 seconds or something, when in reality there are some things that you may need to understand in a longer period of time. Because I'm not an avid shorts watcher or short video watcher, and yet here I am just gradually losing focus. Every time the algorithm just shows you something interesting on YouTube. Oh. Okay. Speaking of which, is this still in the same layer? Yep, still the same layer. Alright. I don't know if you guys are still here, but make sure you guys are freaking focusing on the stream. I'm gonna I do have some keys here on the stream. I wanna jingle some keys to make sure you guys are focusing on this freaking. I do have like this box of tools here. Let me see. Jingle jangle, jingle jangle. Jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle. Are you guys still focusing on the stream? It's oh my god. I wonder though, if I just jingle a bunch of stuff here in the stream, would people watch my VODs more often? Jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle. I mean, I don't want to diss you guys, but it is kind of like the fact of the matter that we are losing our attention span by the minute. Heck, that's even something that I'm at fault of. I will be in a conversation with my family members, and after like 5 seconds, I just lose track of everything that we talked about for the duration of our conversation. You know, maybe for a gimmick of this live stream, maybe for every 5 minutes, I'll jingle this toolbox here to give you guys some entertainment, I guess. Jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle, jingle jangle. All right, what's the time right now? 1 hour. We've been streaming for 1 hour and 27 minutes. Maybe after like 5 minutes, I'll jingle jangle the toolbox here. To keep you guys engaged. Oh my god. Speaking of attention span, I think I might as well explain to you guys how I learned about meditation and how it helped me in a way in getting my attention back in order. So back in the day, I think my dad was sort of training us to run for this specific marathon, I guess, or race. And during our session with him, during one of our training sessions, he discovered this website that talked about meditation in his this website, and that was pretty much how I got into meditation, really. My dad just showed me this one website, and the way this website taught us meditation is that they taught us that you should sit in a silent room for about 5 minutes or so, as you focus on this one instructor say shui for an interval of time. It's a pretty. I found it funny at first, the fact that we can that meditation functions this way, and I even questioned whether or not meditation is even helpful with what I'm doing. But as soon as I got through the session, one session of this guy saying "shui shui," this one audio clip we found on the website, I just feel much more relaxed in a way that I can't really describe right now. It's a very meditative process. It really like puts you in the mood to just focus on shit. I don't know, maybe because maybe your brain just lacks oxygen, that the breathing in meditation would just jumpstart your brain back again into life. But it actually helps, the meditation and all. Funny enough, during our first ever meditation session with my dad and my brothers, my dad like sort of slept through one of the sessions, and I'm like, Dad, wake up! We're still in the middle of meditating. And he was like, oh shit, oh yeah, well, it's probably 2ish shit. Anyway, so yeah, meditation isn't about sleeping, guys. It's about getting your focus back in order, so you can do stuff you actually have to do during the day, like animating a wrestling animation or doing a game development project. Or heck, even if you're not like in my field of work, it could also help you in your studies if you have a hard time focusing on your assignments. Or at work, if you don't feel like doing, sending some paperwork or something. Whew. You know what? Maybe a good way to combat this attention less epidemic is for schools to incorporate like meditation into their physical education curriculum. That's, I think, would be pretty useful for children if ever they struggle to focus on a specific math exam or something. Maybe this is the one solution to our shrinking attention span, is just to incorporate meditation into schools. By the way, guys, I'm not even like a religious person. I'm not really that much religious person to believe that all these hocus pocus, but I am a believer that meditation can help people, even if you're not a believer of God or any other religion I might be aware of. There's like some kind of help in getting your mind to do these sort of meditative practices. That's good. Let's make a line here. Anyway. What the frick is this? Huh? What the heck? Oh, is this a guide? Okay. Actually pressing this guide layer here, and I think it's causing me to create a circle. Alright. So yeah, the goal of this, the conclusion that we have for this one talk is that meditation helps. So if ever you feel like you're having trouble focusing on your class or your work, just go and meditate, I guess. Give yourself 5 minutes to do so, and I promise you, you'll see some positive results in the end. I guess I should also mention that reading also works. I think I have stupidly called reading a thing of the past before in my other stream, but I think after consulting some people, I came to realize, okay, maybe reading does have a little bit of a place here on our educational system in a way that can maybe improve students' ability to focus in class. We sure do need students to focus on class. Because again, I've seen these videos wherein teachers start complaining about how their students aren't really focusing that much in class, and I'm like, oh my god, this is really a problem now. And I guess another thing that might improve children's attention span is maybe to get them exposed to a hobby or something. Because I noticed that if I'm not, doing any of these Blender and game dev stuff, I'll probably just be, sitting in my room watching shorts on YouTube or something. And to me, I think that's unhealthy. I think we should expose children to hobbies and shit and skills at an early age, just so they can spend their time on much more advanced skills rather than just mindlessly consuming stuff on social media. But the problem right now I notice is that whenever you have like a hobby or a skill you want to show on the internet, people will just make fun of you for being cringe. Um, and you know, I'm not just talking about like where am I going with this? I'm all I'm saying is that like hobbies right now to the wide internet is just cringe for people. Like, unless you are really good at what you're doing, people are just gonna make like fun of you at some forum on the internet or something, and it's an unhealthy way of looking into what hobbies really are. Like, I remember back then, I would show some of my earlier stickman animations to my family members, and they would sometimes like make fun of me, thinking, "Yo, Morgan, why you're already like late into your teens and you're still making animations on the internet? Like, that's cringe." I mean, you know, these are like older relatives, so they say something more of the lines like, "Oh, you should probably do something much better with your time, like studying or something, or reading and writing," which I do, of course, but you know, I also have other interests, and it's like, it's, you know, kind of disheartening whenever you have a hobby or a interest that you have in mind, and people just don't support you in any way. And I'm very lucky to, you know, just sort of ignore all of that and just pursue this entire thing on my own, right, and give in to the temptation of social pressure given by my friends and family. But I have to wonder what would have happened if I didn't ignore the pleas of my family members, instead, you know, gave into it. And I think I'm seeing it now on the younger generation right now, wherein they really don't have anywhere else to go but TikTok and YouTube. God, I'm really sounding like that one boomer that thinks, "Oh my god, technology is really bad for you." And to that I say, well, not technology isn't always bad. Like, there are some ways you can use it to your advantage to actually benefit your life, but the way that the youth uses it is just harmful in a way, in the idea that they use it to just mindlessly consume media that might not really help them in the long run. And a better way to look into using technology is to use it to create stuff, or to manage stuff in your life that might be a problem. Go write stuff, go read stuff. For a problem with your homework, go search up a Wikipedia article about it. Don't use AI if you're like stuck in a rut. I mean, I guess you could use AI if ever you feel like it's your one and only way of finding this one particular thing. But for the most part, just try and find that shit on your own, because you're training your mind to really rely on these new technologies to a point that you just couldn't like critically think for yourself. Like that, I guess that's like my one drawback, my one boundary when it comes to AI is when it steals people's ability to critically think about what they look at online. And the same goes for search engines. Like, you can use search engines all you want, but if you are heavily trusting of search engines to a point that you believe on the fake news that they give you, that's when it becomes really harmful. Same goes for freaking artificial intelligence. If they say information that isn't really true, you should be at least have the ability to, you know, critically analyze the text or the information given to you and say, oh, that's bullshit, you know. And of course, I don't want AI in my freaking art. Why is art now becoming a way for a place for a tool in the art community? Like, I mean, it's not even a tool. It's like it's just an easy way out to make these lifeless pieces of work. I've already done my rant about AI art in the past, so let's just not retread some old topics here in this stream. But yeah, going back to the topic of attention spans, I think it's best if kids are exposed to hobbies in the early age so that they kind of train themselves to do tasks that might otherwise take a long period of time to finish. And not only that, not only does hobbies like help you in attention spans, it also helps people become more confident with themselves. I can technically account for that aspect of hobbies. I mean, back then, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was a loser. Back in the day, I would remember I would go to, I was like a very bad, I was a very horrible person back in the day. I remember not, you know, I remember like not being confident in myself back in the day. I would go to like these dating websites like TikTok, and I would try and, you know, look for like I don't know, a girl in that freaking app. I know this is cringy, but it's like this is past me that I'm talking about. I remember going to freaking Tinder back in the day, and I would just whenever like I get like a swipe right from a girl, I would just message them about how I am having these problems in my life, and I look at myself back in the day, and I'm like, oh my god, I was a loser back in the day. And I mean, the reason why I was that person was because I just didn't have respect. I didn't even have that much self-respect with myself, and you know, I was like very insecure. I was a very insecure teenager back in the day, to a point that I would just, you know, put all of my problems into another person. Yeah, I was really that bad of a person back then. If you ever come into a point where you start putting all of your problems or spewing out all your problems into one person, you need to like reassess yourself, because that's really a problem in a way. Because why are you speaking about these stuff to your person? I mean, I understand that people should talk about their problems. I mean, I certainly understand that you should talk to people whenever you're in a rut. But then again, though, you need to sort of understand when talking about your problems to a person is helping you or not. Because who knows, the person that you may be talking to may not have the solution that you're looking for. or I guess the behavior to, or the time to actually listen to your problems. So yeah, I was that one cringy person in school that would just spew all their problems into one person. But then you know, I discovered Blender for the first time, and I'm like, oh my god, this is really fun. And I just, instead of like spewing out all my problems into another person, I just spent my time just I just spent the rest of my time just working on a specific interest or hobby that I have in mind, and in the end though, I just became a better person because of it. Yeah, I kind of like gain a little bit of a confidence boost when I start learning about Blender. And then once I learned Blender, I started, you know, branching out on new stuff like making music and now doing game dev, and up to now I never really looked back. I never ever put my problems against one person. I now like, I don't know, I take responsibility now for my own actions, and I just, you know, I just became a better person because of art in a way. People should just be comfortable with making stuff. Because I don't know how to explain it, but it just really helped me in the end in becoming like a better person. Not only on the internet, but also with my families and my friends, and with people I meet in real life. Because with a complicated hobby like Blender, it really makes you think, oh, if I can, you know, learn about the freaking shader editor or the animation editor and the 3D viewport in Blender, what's stopping me from solving something as simple as, you know, learning how to talk with people and make friends, or conquering a topic at school that might be complicated to some people, but to me might not be as complicated at all, you know? If I start to compare my past experiences with Blender with what I'm doing right now, you kind of start to realize that I kind of start to realize that I just am able to do almost anything if I just took the time and effort to do so. And I think that realization can also happen to people like you guys. If you take the time to spend on a hobby, you just become a better person in the end. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I'm gonna shut my mouth and make these hands here. What even is this? Oh, it's a fucking arm. Okay. Again, I'm not really good at these freaking hands. These hand poses here for my model. So I'm fixing it through the grease pencil here. Oh my god. Okay, that's okay. Let me see how this looks without the. Okay, that's good enough. And then. Oh, I just noticed I didn't create the stripes here. There we go. Oh my god. Okay, speaking of freaking hobbies, I'll say this. I'm about to do like a rant about Facebook, but I think I lost any motivation to talk about Facebook right now because of just how not really toxic Facebook is, but more so like how depressing the user experience is at navigating Facebook right now. Because Facebook is in this unique place in the social media community where it doesn't really say anything directly harmful to its users, unlike Twitter. But it does indirectly put you in a psychological state wherein you think that you're not good enough to function in our society. Because I would always catch myself like navigating through Facebook because Facebook is still pretty much a big platform here in this side of the world, the Philippines. And I would notice that whenever I just get into Facebook, I just have this habit of comparing myself with other people. And by the time I notice I'm comparing myself with people, I just have to like drop my phone and think about what I'm feeling right now at the moment. I'm like, damn, am I really that horrible a person to think that I'm comparable, that I had to compare myself with other people or with my own friends on Facebook? Because I think that's like a very toxic behavior to compare yourself with people on social media. I mean, you should be more so proud of people, that proud of your friends and your family members succeeding in life, instead of just like comparing yourself with other people. Like I even catch my parents comparing themselves with people online as well, and whenever I look at their behavior on Facebook, I have to like reassess my own behaviors online as well and think if whether or not I'm in that same state as well. Oh hey AJ Stories, what's up? I'm talking about Facebook right now. Anyway, I don't think the oh hello, what are you making? Oh, I'm making a wrestling animation here with grease pencil. So right now, here's the thing I've created so far. Let's get rid of the monitor here. So I've created this little animation so far. This guy going up the top rope here, and he's, yeah, it's a 2D. Well, yeah, it's technically a 2D animation, but I use like 3D models to help me in rotoscoping everything in this. When it comes to these guys' movements. So if I want to make a new frame, I just have to trace the animation being created by this wrestler here. You're making game? Yeah, I am making a game, but this one is a separate project. This is this is for a animation I'm posting on YouTube, but the game I am making is a space shooter game. Not this one though. This is an entirely different project. I'm also learning Blender right now. Oh, cool. That's nice. But yeah, this is an entirely different project. My game development project will start on the next time I stream, but as of now, this is just me doing stuff, doing some basic 2D animation in Blender. Your animation is good, like an anime? Really now? Have you seen my Metroid animation, people? I think my animations are pretty jank, in my opinion. But the charming kind of jank, right? And like the jank that you kind of see in those old 3D commercials back in the day. I think my animations are jank, but I am making this short to a point that it's not that jank, you know. Hey, good on you that you're making like anime. Oh wait, no, you're not making anime. You're just saying that my animations are good. You know, speaking of anime, I did see some people make like 3D anime on Blender. Like Dylan Goo. Dylan Goo is like making 3D anime on his YouTube channel, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. Ooh. Oh boy. Alright. Anyway, whenever I talk about Blender with other people who are not in the Blender community, they're always shocked whenever I bring up to them my toon shader work. And they think to themselves, oh, is that 2D? Are those 2D animations? And I say, no, those are not 2D animations, those are 3D animations. And they say to me, oh, it's 3D, wow, I always thought that that Blender is a 3D modeling software, but you are doing something really different. And I'm like, yeah, that's like Blender right now is more than just a 3D modeling software. It's like a 2D, it can also be a 2D animation software if you wanted to, or a VFX software if you want to overlay your 3D stuff with real life footage. I actually do 3D animation because I don't have the drawing tablet for 2D animation. Doing 2D animation with mouse is really hard. Yeah, I kind of get you. But luckily for me, I do have a 2D drawing tablet with me. Although it's not the fancy one where there's a screen. There's a screen on the drawing tablet. It's the cheaper type you get. That's just like a tablet, like a black piece of plastic. And it's only cost around like I think 1,000 pesos. It's a Huion 8640. So if you want to jump into 2D animation, there are cheaper drawing tablets out there. Like this one I'm using right now. And you might be wondering, oh, aren't those 2D drawing tablets not good? Like the ones without screen? 3D animation is much harder because of wait, what's that? Because of the axis? Oh, you're having trouble with the axis, eh? Well, here's a good way for you to think about axis in Blender. Hold on, let me give you guys a little bit of a lesson here about axis in Blender. So let's say, for example, you want to try to move a cube around, right? You want to like try to understand, oh, where is this cube right now in this particular environment? Let's say you want to try and move your cube around the x-axis. Well, you press the G key, or in this case, I guess the move key if you're a beginner. And you just kind of have to like see that, oh, if you want to move in the x-axis, there's like a line that tells you where it goes. In the z-axis, there's also a line that tells you where it goes. And the y-axis, there's also a line that tells you where it goes. Now, I think some problems that beginners might have when it comes to moving in the axis is when you start to introduce to them how you rotate in a specific axis. Well, here's how it works. If ever you have a problem with understanding how rotating in a specific axis works, let's say you want to rotate in the x-axis. Well, you need to imagine like a skewer or a barbecue stick going through your model. So in the x-axis, you have this line going around that tells you that, hey, this red line is the x-axis, but how is it actually rotating your model? It's not really rotating it along it's not really rotating it towards the direction of the x-axis. So how is it rotating your thing? Well, a better way to imagine rotation is to think of your mesh, or in this case your cube, being a barbecue, being punctured by a barbecue stick, and the barbecue stick in this case is the x-axis, or the red line going through the cube. Now, how you rotate is the same way you try to cook a barbecue stick. So if ever if you're like ever a part of a grill or a cookout with your families or friends, you would know that there's like a way for you to rotate along. If you're ever like in a cookout with your friends and family, you know that how you cook a barbecue is by putting it into a grill. If you have those fancy barbecue makers, you will know that they rotate your barbecue in the same way that this cube rotates around the x-axis. So that's a way for you to understand how rotation works. Hold on, you're saying something here. Yeah, I know that I've learned a bit of navigation. In edit mode, you just click G and then X, Y, Z to move along. I only have problems sometimes with extruding. Oh, extruding. You mean like getting them to work along the, what's it called? Getting them to extrude in the right direction. Well, there's like a way. I think I've explored that. topic before. Hold on. Okay, just to give you like a brief tip on how to extrude and shit. Let's say for example you want to like extrude these two faces, but when you press E, it sort of just like moves in a one direction. But what you actually want to do is to have it so that these faces extrude on different directions along their Z-axis in a way. So to fix that problem, you just have to go to your face, to the face options here in edit mode. Then you just press extrude faces along normals, and then all of a sudden, look at that, they'll just move along like different directions if you wanted to. So that's how I would explain maybe your problem with extruding. Anyway, I think I've went too much into this rant about basic Blender shit. So why don't I just go back to my resting animation here and work on the grease pencil. Oh my god. Anyway, I hope this that one lesson helps. I always try to accommodate any beginners on chat right now if you ever have problems with learning how to navigate Blender. Alright, let me just go ahead and make a... I need to switch this to rendered mode. There we go. Alright. Anyway, if you're a beginner in chat right now using Blender for the first time, speaking from experience, Blender is basically a very complicated program to learn. Which is why you guys kind of need to be like a bit comfortable with Blender's features and stuff. Because even up to now, I still don't know the extent to what Blender can offer me as a 3D modeling software. I haven't really touched its VFX features, or its even much of its geometry nodes features. I'm still not a big expert of. Which is why when you're learning Blender, you need to be comfortable with just not knowing a lot of things. And also, I think with any skill that you guys want to learn, you just need to find that one mindset that would just make everything click for you. Like for example, when it came to me learning about music or making DAW music, I thought that the entire thing was complicated, but then I looked into a topic called music theory, and then all of a sudden the music making and the music composing process has now been simplified for me, because there's now like a mindset that you can have as a musician to make music. Same goes for like what else is there, like coding, coding games specifically. I thought that coding games would be pretty hard because of how many if statements you get to write into your code editor, but once you learn about state machines, you sort of get into this mindset of how you should write and read code, and all of a sudden everything just clicks for you. In Blender though, I feel like there are multiple instances wherein things just click for me in Blender, from learning about how axis works to learning about shading, the shader editor. I'm trying to remember what exactly made me comfortable with Blender's gimmicks, and I think, to me, the moment I became more comfortable with Blender's complicated features is when I started learning about basically just the render engine, technically. Because for the longest time, when I was a beginner, I thought that turning your 3D models into lifelike caricatures would be a complicated process. But once you understand how rendering works in a 3D software like Blender, it just kind of clicks for me. Like, oh, that's how you make things more realistic in Blender, and once you get what you want from Blender, you just get more comfortable with learning about these complicated stuff. Oh, sorry. I noticed that you were talking in chat right now. Oh, bro, I didn't know that I could have that used in one of my projects. Yeah, the extrude face along more normals. That's a pretty good tool to have in mind. Yes, you can focus on your wrestling. Sorry for what. It's like learning a new language and getting familiar with Blender, moving, and panning. Yeah, it's basically a language It's like learning a new language, basically. But once everything clicks, it just anything that might complicate you just becomes easier in a way. It's like, I guess, just the nature of learning. You just need to find that one thing that answers all your questions, or a mindset that makes all the hard parts much more easier. And to me, I think that to me, I think is that solution would most likely be like a theory that you might not know about. Like what came to me learning about music, it was music theory that helped me learn about music. In making art, it's more so color theory, and this technique I found from this guy named Mark Brunette that talked to me about how to shade in a 2D program like Krita. And in Blender, it's not really more so a theory, but more so like a tool, or specifically the render engine, the EV and Cycles render engine, that made me realize how 3D rendering works. So yeah, that's how I learn shit. By the way, I noticed I'm not focusing on this freaking pattern here. This freaking frame here of my animation. And again though, another way for you to learn about complicated things like Blender is to have a community around you that would support you and guide you through all the things that you may have questions with. Like, not only is this sort of live stream setup helping people who are just meeting me with their Blender problems, but also helps me in a way, because I get to interact with a community that also is interested in Blender. And when you meet people who are also in the same interests as you, it just sort of motivates you to do more stuff with the program. and that's why I do these live streams. Other than the fact that I want to prove to people that you can do so much with just open source software. By the way, did I mention to you guys that up to now, all the projects I've done under the vanilla log, from the webcomics to the animations to the recent game I published in Newgrounds, are all made under a zero budget. under a $0 budget. Like, I didn't spend anything on the programs I make here. It's all just made using open source software. And open source is just, people need to understand how powerful open source software is, especially in the present moment. Like, I remember back in the day we used to complain about how janky GIMP is as an open source photo editing software, but now I think GIMP is a pretty competent photo editing software. Maybe not as competent as, say, Photoshop, but it's still, if you're just a person who just wants to edit photos as quickly as possible, and not one of those like professional photo photographers in the internet, you're going to be adequate. You'd think that GIMP is adequate enough to make all the shit that you want to make. Heck, I still use GIMP to make all the thumbnails here on this channel, and I'm using like a older version of it rather than the GIMP 3.0 version of it that's recently released. Like, open source is still to me are now competent tools that can rival paid software like Adobe. I'm just mentioning Adobe right now because I want to piss off anyone who is still using who still thinks Adobe is a competent software. Because based on news I'm seeing of Adobe, it really does feel like you're running with technology that's made like 30 years ago, both literally and metaphorically. Considering that I noticed that when I hear people talk about Adobe Animate, they always complain about how their features are still the same features that they noticed when Adobe Flash was still a thing. And I'm like, damn, Adobe doesn't really care about the user base in a way. And with open source software like Blender and Krita and LMS, and I don't really have to worry about these programs discontinuing, because I always trust that the community out there would create updates for it later down the line, unlike with like because I remember there's this one video I saw made by this one YouTuber who was like a Pink Panther type of, had a Pink Panther character as her default, as her avatar that she uses to explain stuff on the internet on YouTube. And he had this video on for-profit software and how there are companies that once used Mudbox, that heavily relied on Mudbox in doing a lot of these animations for the games. But ever since it was acquired by 3DS Studio Max, I think. Ever since it was acquired by that company, the people behind it pretty much discontinued the project. And at first you think, oh, maybe if they discontinue it, what, just go move on to a different project. But no, it's like, oh no, why is this thing here? Why is this thing here? I just noticed that. Why is this? Oh, it's... Ah, shit. Okay, wait. Control C. Control V. Okay. Let me just get rid of these frames here. Okay. So yeah, the lesson here is that if ever you guys wanna if you guys wanna try and pursue a long-term project, don't trust on for-profit software to exist later down the line, because who knows, they might be acquired by companies like 3ds Studio Max that won't really care about the existing fan base of a user base of a particular type of software, and they would just ditch you entirely. Like me, I still use like the same the same software here for the past like 4 years. 4 years? 22, 23, 24, yeah, past 4 years. I'm still using Blender, I'm still using Krita, I'm still using GIMP. GIMP has been I don't know, it's like a fun fact with you guys. I've been using GIMP since the beginning, pretty much the beginning of this channel technically. I started using it in 2016 was it, or 2017? Like I started using GIMP ever since the beginning of this channel. It has since been the one software that I've used that have stayed for this amount of time. I mean, I remember using Windows Movie Maker and MS Paint back then to make my old doodles, but once I switched to GIMP, I haven't looked back. I mean, I guess I still use Krita sometimes to make some of the drawings, but GIMP to me is still a software I use for making quick thumbnails for my videos. Because with Krita, I think Krita is just more so geared towards the artists rather than the photo editors, and GIMP is just that right amount of simplicity for me. I still don't get why people say GIMP is a bad piece of software, because I've been using it since 2016 and it's still a pretty reliable software for me. And it's through those, from my experience with open source, that I decided to switch my game dev journey from Unity to freaking Godot. I mean, I still use sort of Unity in a way, because I think it's the only way for me to create 3D VTuber models. But for the rest of my coding game dev journey, I decided to switch to Godot, because I know, even though I know that Godot isn't as powerful as Unity, I can at least rely that Godot would at least have stable support later down the line. Consider that, you know, Unity is now switching towards a licensing fee, wherein if your game gets popular enough, you need to pay like Unity some royalties, and I'm like, screw that, I wanna 100% own my game engine. So that's why I switched to Godot for my game dev journey. I also just think Godot just has this warm feeling to it whenever I just interact with their community or just use their software in general. Like, it feels like I'm actually interacting with people who are part of a community. Compared to like Unity just feels like you're interacting with people who have like some corporate ties. I mean, I'm not saying that all Unity users are AAA corporate people in suits. I mean, I know there are people who use Unity that are game or indie devs. But whenever I look at the general community of Unity, it just feels too corporate now. Compared to like Godot just has that indie feel that I'm looking for whenever I try to interact with people on the internet. Of course, I'm not faulting people who uses Unity. I'm just saying that I just have this feeling of it whenever I compare both Godot's community and Unity's community. Anyway. Okay. I need to stop painting on this other layer here. This is reserved for the coloring. Oh, okay. Alright. Anyway. And going back to freaking Godot, I think Godot is slowly making its way up to becoming a competent game engine for most people.
I guess their one mistake, the one mistake Godot had with its user base was back when their PR community posted something about something political, I think. And people just hated it. But looking back at that one feud with Godot, I think people are just mistaking the PR community for actual game, for the actual programmers who are actually making the game. And whether or not they have those beliefs, which I don't think is that offensive, by the way, they're still making a pretty good engine at the end of the day. So keep that in mind whenever you look into a freaking game engine. Godot. Alright, let's see this thing in action. Alright, I might need to get rid of the passport 2 here. Alright. Oof. Alright. Alright, let's see this in action. Again, those lines are there just for the fact that there's a thing to keep into account. Oh my god. Okay. Let's move on to the next frame. You know, every time I start an animation project like this, I always thought that things would be much more stressful than it should be. But now that I'm here, I'm like, I'm having a gay old time here. Everything's happy, everything is going well. I'm not like pulling my hair out or anything. I think the hair pulling will happen once we start my game dev journey later this week. Or tomorrow, I think. I think tomorrow I'll do this. I'll start coding in Godot. Alright. I think we're about to wrap this stream up. But if you guys are looking forward to what we'll be doing this week, I'm gonna be uploading the time lapse for my game assets for my game asset streams this Thursday, Wednesday if you're living in the US. And I will also live stream myself starting a new project in Godot where I'll be making a space shooter game in its 2D engine. And I think I'll be focusing more on that for the coming months, because I am a big fan of coding. You guys may not be into my coding journey. I noticed that you guys haven't really watched some of my recent short on Gas Frenzy, but I'm still gonna do it anyway because I'm having so much fun learning about game development in Godot. Oh my god. Alright, so, let me get rid of Passport 2 here for a bit. Okay, once I'm done with this frame, I will end the stream. I still need to like do some groceries. So I also need to freaking fix my ATM card. Oh my god. Oh, hello. I guess my sister's here. How do I say this? So yeah, I think my ATM card was kind of suspended because some stranger has been using it for the longest time. And I think I know why a stranger is using my freaking ATM card. Because back in the day, I made like a Fiverr account to help me with gathering donations for my channel. And I remember that my first client, or my first quote-unquote customer on that site, was a shady looking guy on the internet asking me to help him with sorting out the payment method in Fiverr. Now, I was at first, helpful with the guy. I tried to tell him that, hey, this is how you should do it. But then he showed me this little freaking web screenshot of a web link, telling me to send him my credit card, or my credit card information. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now keep in mind, I have never ever bought or sold something online, nor have I ever been scammed. So I didn't really know that when you're giving credit card information to someone, it's usually so that you can pay them money rather than they send you money. So I didn't really question it at first, like, why is this guy asking me for my credit card information? So I did that. I gave him my credit card information, and luckily for me, my bank's security calls were so advanced that it can detect whether or not this guy was a scammer or not. So the guy who was trying to scam me messaged me, hey, this thing's not working, can you please send me some other stuff? Okay, sure, why not? So my dumb idiot mind decided, okay, I will go call the bank, say that, hey, you should probably send me some authentication number to get this guy approved. And I did all this shit, and it's a good thing my bank knows that I am a dumb idiot who shouldn't be giving these credit card information to people. Because no matter how many times I try to send them all this information, they just wouldn't happen. Like the fact that nothing is happening in my freaking bank account. Nothing is being sent. Nothing was being added or subtracted into the total sum of money in my account. So now, it came to a point wherein the guy decided, okay, this ain't gonna work. So why did you expend? I know this because he knew that I was using like a sort of app on my phone, like a payment app on my phone called PayMaya that sends like that helps you send and receive money to people. But he realized that that PayMaya also has this sort of feature where you can contribute to the crypto market there. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? So the guy was like, oh, why don't you invest in this specific currency in the market? And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, go spend some money on this cryptocurrency. I'm not gonna tell you guys what this cryptocurrency is because I'm not gonna scam you guys out of this shit, whether or not this is whether I'm encouraging you or not. But this guy is telling me to freaking invest in this specific cryptocurrency. And by the time he started telling me about cryptocurrency, I just freaking hanged up the phone and realized how much of a dumb idiot I am for thinking that this guy was a real customer. And now I think that the experience is now coming back to bite me, because now my bank detected that someone was using my freaking ATM card and it's now suspended it. So now I need to do whatever I can to reinstate or make a new ATM card for myself. And yeah, that's what I'll be doing for the rest of my afternoon. And as you can see, I've already freaking finished up this frame here, and I think it's time for me to end the stream. Let me see how this looks so far. Alright. Let me get the passport 2 back in here. Okay, so here's how it looks. I'm gonna pull back everything here and get to the wrestler character. And this is what we've made so far. Okay. We still haven't done the backflip quite yet. We still need to get him to land, but overall, we are making some sustainable progress here. Too bad we are gonna have to deviate from this project for a bit because I will be doing a game dev live stream tomorrow. So if you guys like to see me rack my head around the GD scripts, to my GD script files on Godot, be sure to tune in on to my live stream tomorrow. And if you can go subscribe to my channel for future live streams. And also, check out my Ko-Fi page if you want to support my channel in the long run. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Now, go read a book.
Bye-bye.
Wow.